Want a podcast? Kia ora, I'm Maxine, podcast producer, audio nerd, and founder of Maxine London Creative. Let's explore what it takes to start and maintain a successful podcast. I'll chat with industry experts, podcast hosts, and fellow audio nerds on everything about the wonderful world of podcasting. We'll talk techniques, trends, and top tips to get you started on your podcast journey. Whether you're a podcast newbie or you've been here a while, welcome. Want a podcast? Reckon your podcast has what it takes to win an award? With submissions for the New Zealand Podcast Awards for 2025 officially open, I thought I'd take the time to chat through what it takes to win an award. And I'm not just talking about this year's New Zealand Podcast Awards, because these tips will be applicable for any awards season. Today, I am talking about how to put together an awards submission that will actually impress the judges. We'll cover how to know if your podcast is even ready, how to pick a category that plays most to your strengths, how to create a show reel that will make the judges sit up straight, and how to write a written submission that ticks all the boxes. First things first, how do you know if your show is even ready for an award? Here's the thing, awards aren't just about having a good idea. These judges are going to be looking at the whole package. That means audio quality. Does your podcast sound clean, balanced, and easy to listen to? Judges don't expect you to have a full-blown radio studio setup, but they do expect you to care about the basics. Things like clear vocals, minimal background noise, and consistent audio levels. If your volume jumps all over the place, if you've got uneven or jarring audio cuts, or if you're recording in the kitchen with your dishwasher on, that's all going to hurt your chances. Now, if your audio isn't quite cutting it this year for this year's award submissions, don't worry. These are just some things that you can improve for next year. You can do things like invest in a decent dynamic microphone, learn a little bit of editing, you can record in a quieter space, or even make small changes like adding soft furnishings to your room. That can make a big difference. Audience engagement. Judges love to see signs that you're building a real community around your show. And this doesn't mean you need tens of thousands of downloads. They'll be impressed if you can show evidence of listener loyalty, like strong ratings, reviews, people sharing your episodes on socials, or an engaged online group or newsletter community. If you don't have reviews or engagement yet, don't be afraid to ask your audience in a fun, creative way, and make sure that you're encouraging conversation with your listeners outside of the podcast itself. Consistency and craft. Have you been releasing episodes regularly? Do your episodes feel thought out, structured, and intentional? Or are they a little bit all over the place? Consistency is a huge sign of professionalism and growth. If your schedule has been a little bit patchy, maybe you should focus on getting consistent first. A solid run of well-produced episodes can make your show look so much stronger when the submissions roll around again. Now, if you're listening and thinking, maybe I'm not quite there yet, that is totally fine. Honestly, entering the awards isn't just about winning some sort of shiny trophy. In fact, I don't even think you get a trophy. It's more about leveling up your podcast. If this year isn't your year, just treat the awards criteria like your roadmap. Ask yourself, is my audio as clean and consistent as it could be? Am I building real engagement around my audience? And do I have a listener feedback or testimonials that show my podcast makes an impact? Also have a look at your consistency, like are you releasing episodes regularly enough to show growth and consistency? If you've got gaps here, that's okay. Spend the next 12 months working on them, run a listener survey to collect feedback, and refine your release schedule, or even take the time to really polish your production. And if you're not really sure where to start, that is exactly where my Confidence and Clarity audit is for. I'll listen to your podcast with a judge's eye and give you tailored advice on where you're strong and where you can improve, so that by time the submissions roll around again, you are award ready. Or maybe you're sitting there thinking, yes, actually, my show is ready. If that's you, here's what you do next. First, and most importantly, it is so crucial to choose the right categories. Don't just enter the flashiest sounding category, enter the ones that actually fit your strengths. Look at what you do best. Is it storytelling? Maybe it's interviews. Maybe you've got killer production values or a niche audience that hangs on your every word. Match that to the category description. For example, if your sound design is amazing, go for technical categories. If you've nailed your audience connection, look for categories like Best Indie or Best New Podcast. If your interviews sparkle but your editing isn't so fancy, go for Best Interviews rather than Best Production. And don't forget, you can usually enter more than one category. Just make sure that it's not copy and pasted, that you're actually tailoring each entry to the specific category and what they're looking for. Now let's talk about the fun bit, creating a show reel. This is where the judges can really hear what makes your podcast shine. Keep it short and sharp. Usually it's around 5 or 10 minutes, but always check the guidelines because it will tell you exactly what they're looking for. Once you have thoroughly read and understood the guidelines, it is time to choose your clips. It's important that you don't just choose your favorite clips, but you actually play into the guidelines and give the judges exactly what they want. Here's how to put it together. Start with your strongest clip. You've got seconds to grab attention, so make sure you make it count. Include variety. Maybe a snippet of your intro, a juicy guest moment, and then a little bit of storytelling magic. Show depth, show emotion, show creativity. Choose clips that highlight your best qualities, whether it's humor, heart, or creativity, or even slick editing. Play to your strengths. Now again, this is all going to come back down to what category you're entering and the specific guidelines for that category. For example, if it's best interview, showcase your interviewing skills. Use a mix of clips that have you engaging in the conversation and clips of your guests opening up, being vulnerable, and giving you the gold. If it's best branded or sponsored podcast, showcase how your podcast highlights brands in a variety of ways. Maybe that's host-read ads, casual ad libs, interwoven in stories, or even with guests. Word of warning though, don't try to squeeze in everything you've ever done. Judges don't want the greatest hits extended edition. They just want a curated snapshot that shows exactly why your podcast stands out. Pro tip, include smooth transitions. A tiny little bit of music or a smooth sound effect between the clips can really make your reel feel seamless and intentional. Now let's talk about the traps and what to avoid in your show reel. Here's what not to do. Don't start with a long-winded intro or theme song. Judges don't need to hear your full opener. They just want to get straight to the good stuff. Don't include inside jokes or rambling guest stories that take forever to get to the point. And don't include every single best bit that you've ever done. Remember, this is a highlight reel, not a feature-length documentary. You have to be ruthless. If it's a clip that is good but not great, or if it doesn't serve the category that you're entering, leave it out. Less is more. And if this part of it feels a little bit overwhelming, outsource it. Seriously. Hire someone like me to create a professional show reel that hits the brief, flows seamlessly, and shows your podcast in its absolute best light. Sometimes an outside ear is exactly what you need to cut through your emotional attachment to certain episodes or moments. Once you've got your show reel completed, it is time for your written submission. This needs to be clear, direct, and tied back to the judging criteria. Judges are reading heaps of these, so don't waffle. If there's a word count, make sure that you adhere to it. Answer every question like it really matters, and with specifics as well. So instead of saying our audience is growing, you could say something like, we've grown 50% in the last 6 months and our listeners are now tuning in from 12 different countries. Instead of our show is unique, say why it's unique and what impact it's having on your community. Include testimonials, reviews, and pieces of audience feedback that will back up what you're saying as well. And remember, impact is key. Judges love to see that your podcast is doing more than just existing. What difference is it making? Who's it helping? And how is it changing the conversation in your niche? For every single part of your submission, make sure that you have read the judging criteria like it is exam notes, because honestly, it is. If they say they're looking for creativity, originality, and execution, make sure that those exact things are obvious in your submission. Don't assume that judges will magically get your show. You have to show them in their own language. You can mirror their words back at them as well. So if the criteria says strong storytelling, you can literally write, here's how our show demonstrates strong storytelling. It feels a little bit on the nose, but honestly, it does work. When it comes down to it, the most important thing to remember is that you're taking these judges on a journey through your podcast. They haven't necessarily heard your podcast before, so treat them like they know absolutely nothing about it. Storytelling is key. At the end of the day, this is what will separate your submission from the rest. So tell the story of your podcast. You can frame it like this. What challenge or gap in the market are you responding to? What did you create and how did you deliver it? What impact has it had? That makes your submission memorable. Judges will walk away not just knowing what your podcast is, but why it matters. Remember, even if you don't win this year, the process itself is a massive growth exercise. You'll see your podcast more clearly and you'll get practice at positioning it in a way that sells its strengths. And hey, if you're submitting to the New Zealand Podcast Awards, I'd love to cheer you on. Tag me when you announce your entry or send me a DM and let me know what category you're gunning for. If you need support putting your show reel together or even strategizing which categories are best for your show, get in touch. Or if you want personalized feedback on how to get your podcast awards ready for next year, my Confidence and Clarity podcast audit is the perfect place to start. I'll go through your podcast with a fine-tooth comb and give you back tailored advice on everything from content to presentation to production. You can check that out via the link in the show notes. Good luck! Have fun with it if you're entering, and I will catch you next time on Wanna Podcast. Thanks for listening to Wanna Podcast. If you got something out of this episode, give it some love. Subscribe, follow, share it with your friends, or leave a review. It all helps to get this podcast into the ears of those who need it. If you're keen to connect, check out Wanna Podcast or Maxine London Creative on Instagram, or head to maxineLondonCreative.co.nz. Check out the show notes for links. Thanks again for being part of my community. See you next time.